All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 3 o'clock. Chad here. The Trailblazers are back in action tomorrow. They'll host the Kings. Tip-off at 7, Rip City Drive, and Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt. It's going to be live from Moda Center on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. The college football playoff kicks off Friday. Alabama's at Oklahoma. The Tide are favored by a point. You can join me on Saturday at Spirit Mountain Casino for the college football playoff triple header. I'm going to be live on air from 12 to 3. I'll have giveaways. There'll be drink specials and 18 screens to watch all the action, including a big screen that's 165 inches. Spirit Mountain Casino is your place to bet on college sports, parlays, teasers, totals, and prop bets. Patrick Mahomes had surgery to repair his knee and has started rehab. Chiefs are eyeing a Week 1 return next season. The Dolphins have benched Tua and will start Quinn Ewers this weekend against the Bengals. And Titans quarterback Cam Ward wants to have conversations with all the potential coaching candidates as the team searches for their next head coach. And my pleasure. Man, how good is this song right here? The quintessential 80s song from Tears for Fears. And this is one of those bands that reminds me of my brother. When we lived on top of Conifer Mountain there in Colorado, it was right in the middle of the 80s, and Tears for Fears had just come onto the scene with their album Songs from the Big Chair. And I think my brother had interest in a neighborhood young lady, and she was a big Tears for Fears fan. So we go up to this place called Eagle's Nest at the top of Conifer Mountain, and we bring our little boom box. For you younger kids out there, just Google boombox. You'll know what I'm talking about. And we would play the music, but Tears for Fears was featured thanks to this gal. And my brother's concept was very simple. It's like, hey, if that's what she wants to listen to, I'm fine with that. All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive Chad doing here as I make a cup of coffee and get ready for the show. Now, coming up at 4:20 today, as we get ready to celebrate coming up on Monday with the Trailblazers, the return of the 99-2000 team that should have won a championship, nearly went to the finals, got screwed by the refs, got screwed by Kobe and Shaq. I'm going to have Antonio Harvey on the show, and one thing I'm going to ask him about is this right here. Now, he and I used to work together on a different radio station back in the day. It was a morning show that involved myself in my early days in radio, the Godfather Dwight James, and Antonio Harvey. You can't find three more different individuals in that threesome right there. You want to talk about a menage a trois? How about me, the Godfather, and Antonio Harvey? But one of my favorite moments in radio history is White Tone, when he busted out with the White Tone rap. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's White Tone in the house. He's going to hit you in your mouth. Watching TV on the couch? Hey, this is what I'm all about. Now, come on, LeBron. Don't be dumb. Are you mad at D. West for getting with your mom? Cleveland, my friend, is going to end badly. It's Delonte's with your mom. Are you calling him daddy? If you leave, I hope you know, the city's going to snub you. Don't be angry with your mom. She just needed love, too. She's single and ready, and LeBron James's mother, if it wasn't D. West, it was going to be another. She got what you needed. Come on, you should be happy. Your mom's my age. Maybe I could be your pappy. Call me in the show and dispel this rumor. Don't be mad at us, too. It's just MSP humor. Oh, yeah. White Tone. Rocking the mic. Giving you what you like. It's the MSP, baby.
There you go. That's White Tone. White Tone with a freestyle rap about LeBron and his mom. And, of course, back in the day, the rumors that Delonte West may have gotten with LeBron's mom. A disturbing thought. But nonetheless, I'm going to play that for Tone to see if he remembers White Tone. I mean, I love all versions of Tone. I love the regular Antonio Harvey, and I'm down with White Tone. So there you have it. All right, a lot of things going on. Trailblazers are back in action tomorrow, taking on the Sacramento Kings. Great opportunity to get back in the win column again and make it back-to-back wins. The Kings are not a good basketball team. So the Blazers tomorrow tip off at 7. I'll be live from Motor Center with Rip City Driving, and Chris Burkhart will have game day at 5. The college football playoff is going to start on Friday with Alabama and Oklahoma from Norman. And right now the Tide are a 1-point favorite. And then on Saturday we have the triple-header with Oregon and James Madison. That game's going to kick off at 4:30. We also have Texas A&M taking on Miami. And we have Ole Miss and Tulane. 3 games on Saturday, college football playoff. It's going to be freaking awesome. And I want you to join me, not in studio, but at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. I'm going to be live from noon to 3. There's going to be drink specials. I'll have some giveaways, some goodies for you, because as you know, I'm a man of the people. And we're going to hang out and watch some of the games. And they've got 18 screens. They've got the big screen that's like 165 inches or whatever size that thing is. It's big. And we're going to watch the games. And you can come down and hang out. And for those of you that like to, shall we say, wager, parlays, teasers, totals, prop bets, they've got in-game betting on the kiosk machines. You can walk up to the table, the counter, and place your wagers, whatever you want to do. But it is your place to bet on college sports. You can even bet on the Oregon Ducks. So come on down Saturday and join me at Spirit Mountain Casino to take in the college football playoff action. And you know where I stand on the playoff. I love the college football playoff. I love the expansion. I love how it's enhanced the regular season. And I'm looking forward to the games this year because I think there are multiple teams, 6, 7, 8 teams that can win a championship. And Oregon is one of those teams. And I said it yesterday. I'll just repeat myself. Oregon right now, in all the years I've watched the Ducks, you know, going back to the mid-'90s, late 80s, early 90s, mid-'90s, this version of the Oregon Ducks under Dan Lanning, I think, is the most stout I have seen them at the line of scrimmage, both offensive and defensive lines. And that's critical because if you look at the best teams in the playoff, Oregon being one, whether it's Ohio State or it's Oklahoma or it's Indiana or Ole Miss, take your pick. They're all really good at the line of scrimmage. Talent, physicality, like you've got to be able to compete at the line of scrimmage if you want to advance and have an opportunity to win a national championship. And I think the Ducks can do that this year. And they've shown it throughout the course of the season. Late in the year, they absolutely ran the football, just crammed it down the throat of the USC Trojans, won that game. They went on the road and won a physical battle in elements against the Iowa Hawkeyes, one of the more physical teams in college football. They've just continued to showcase. What about the stoutness they showed in that early season win at Penn State? So I've been really impressed with the work that the Ducks have done this year. I also think the coaching staff did an excellent job. I would have thought going into the year with the new faces on the offensive line that we would have some type of hiccup or, process to get those guys up to the level they need to be able to win, to really play at a high level and dominate. But that wasn't the case. I mean, they hit the ground running, unlike the previous season. But the Ducks this year have been much more balanced in terms of run and pass. Their offensive and defensive lines have been terrific. I love their receiving core, love their tight ends. They're just a really, really good football team that can win big-time football games. And then Dante Moore's a stud. So they've got all the elements you need to be able to compete and win at a high level. So you win those battles up front, and then it comes down to the usual, right? Being sound, making sure that you protect the football. Ball security is going to be critical. Very difficult to lose the turnover battle and win those playoff games against really good competition. And they're staring at a potential matchup with Texas Tech in the second round. And that's going to be a terrific game. Texas Tech, for those who don't know, spent as much money as anybody in the portal, and they got exactly what they paid for. Guys up front that can create havoc. Their defensive line is awesome. They're a fast team. They're physical. They can run the football. They play good defense. So the Ducks are in a great position. And I really like this group. And, I credit Dan Lanning. His energy and the way he approaches the job and the way he motivates his guys, it's impressive. But they've got the tools. Good quarterback play, strong at the line of scrimmage. They can compete with anybody. And that's what's impressed me about Indiana and their run to a perfect season in a Big Ten championship was how they were able to go on the road and physically beat up the Ducks. Or in that Big Ten title game, be the aggressor and be the more physical football team. It's not too often you can say that for a team that takes on Ohio State. But they did it. I've seen Ole Miss throughout the course of the season. I've been impressed with Ole Miss since early in the year with their win over LSU. Very strong at the line of scrimmage. Trinidad Chambliss has been solid at making plays. They can run the football. I just like what a lot of these teams have to offer. Now, Oklahoma, of course, I was born in Tulsa, grew up a Sooner fan, love Barry Switzer. Their defense is, I think, the best in the college football playoff. It's awesome. And Venables has done a great job with his defense. The problem is their offense is hot trash. I don't understand how. They got John Mateer. Early in the season, it looked good. Then he got hurt, came back too soon against Texas, and they've been a disaster ever since. So they can't really move the football particularly well. They're not efficient on offense right now, but their defense is great. And with Alabama down the stretch, we've seen some leakage after a portion of their SEC schedule that included a win at Georgia, a win at Missouri. They've been good, but of late, they've had issues protecting the football, being effective on offense, finding that balance. They haven't had it. We saw that against Auburn in that narrow win on the road, and then they got slaughtered by Georgia in the SEC title game. And the weird part is we're used to talking about, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, but this is one of those years where, they're kind of flying under the radar, and that's scary because what I saw in that SEC title game with Georgia, the physicality and the way that they really attacked Alabama was impressive. Now, all of that being said, it's a deep field in the playoff this year, and you've got a bunch of teams that can get after it. You've got a bunch of teams with talent. You got teams that are physical, and it's going to make for good football. Let's grab a call here. Don in Sherwood. Don, I appreciate the call. What's your your takeaway on the playoff coming up?
We got some Sooner ball. We got an Oklahoma boy that I'm talking to.
Yes.
Chad Dillon. Hey, Chad, I think he went in a little bit of a funk. After he got hurt, he wasn't the same. Before he got hurt, man, he was balling. He was doing really good. But, he's not throwing the ball like he used to.
Yeah, no, they brought him back too soon, Don. That was a mistake by Oklahoma. They brought him back too soon. They played him against Texas. They should have gone with Hawkins, their backup, but they didn't. And the Oklahoma offense just hasn't been the same. So we'll see what they can do against Alabama. They're going to lean on that defense, and they're very opportunistic. So that's going to be a low-scoring game, I would think, and I like Oklahoma to win a close football game. They've got the defense to get the job done. I think the Ducks are going to win. Obviously, they're playing James Madison. I think James Madison will be a little bit of a stiffer test than what people think, but Oregon's going to win, and that's going to set up the matchup with Texas Tech, and that's going to be a great football game. So love the college football playoff. The NFL season is now winding down, and we got a monster game coming up tomorrow. The Seahawks are hosting the Rams. The Seahawks actually control their own destiny. If they win out, they will get home field advantage. And so what I'm curious about in this game coming up tomorrow is, will they be able to get pressure with their front four on Matthew Stafford without having to bring extra guys? If they can do that and disrupt the timing and rhythm within that offense that Sean McVay's put together, they're going to have a great chance. Now, keep in mind, they turned the ball over, like 5 times? What did Darnold have? 5 picks in that game against the Rams on the road? And they still had a chance to win it with a field goal at the end, but they missed, a 60-yarder. I like the Seahawks in a close one tomorrow. The problem is they still got to play at San Francisco at the end of the year, but the Hawks are in a position right now to get home field. The AFC playoff picture is starting to clear up, which is nice. The Denver Broncos in full control of their destiny and grabbing that number 1 seed. They host Jacksonville this weekend, who's won 5 straight. They'll be at Kansas City on Christmas without Patrick Mahomes, and they finish up in Denver at home against the Chargers. Go, Chargers, go. So it's great. All right, 503-248-0620. Antonio Harvey's coming up at 420. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Duke, the UPS guy, is trying to talk me into doing 8 hours of radio a day. He does not like what comes on before me, and therefore he wants me to be on all the time. Now, Duke, I'll consider that. Maybe I'll kick off a New Year's resolution, and I'll just have 24/7 Chad. All Chad radio. Would you like that, Duke? I'm here for you, buddy. I got your back. All right, 503-248-0620. I don't know what's going on with our world, but it's pathetic. At Kirk Herbstreit, and I've told you before, Kirk is starting to wear on me. Tony Romo, immediate mute button now. Jim. Hey, Tony, shut your mouth. And the problem is the Broncos are now being featured all the time. And so the issue is that I get Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. I love Jim Nantz, but I can't do Tony Romo, so I just mute him now because I don't need to hear him say Jim 50 times a game and be all cracked out and talk over the great calls of the precious Jim Nantz. Jim Nantz is a national treasure and should be respected, but for some reason he's fully in love with Tony Romo. And so Romo's allowed to get away with whatever he wants in the box during the course of NFL football games, and it drives me crazy. Now, Kirk Herbstreit, he's been doing it for a long time. Great broadcaster, but after a while, it's like, okay, man, I know you have a dog. I know you love your dogs, just like we all do. But can you please stop talking about your dogs? Just focus on the game. Focus on the matchups. It's too much already. And then he had an issue when he was cracking on one of the guys, Carson Wentz, on Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels. That got under my skin. But this is where I have to defend Kirk. He put out this post on social media that said, just wanted to address a mistake that we made on my socials earlier this week related to last weekend's College Football Saturday. We posted a video where Joey Galloway and I were talking about how strange it was to be home and not traveling on a college football weekend since the end of August, and how we felt like we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We posted the video with a caption that was very misleading about we're not having any college football this weekend. Some took that out of context and ran with it. That's on me. My apologies for any disrespect, albeit unintentional, to the teams that played last week, and especially Army and Navy. Not sure there is a game I personally look forward to more every year than Army and Navy. They play for the love of each other and the love of the game. And nobody who has ever watched me for the last 30 years on television knows how I feel about that game. Sorry for any confusion and, again, any disrespect that this created. It was a simple case of miscommunication. Just felt the need to address it. Thank you. See, this is so ridiculous that we're in a day and age where everything is so politically correct and everyone's so sensitive, and you get the vocal minority that raises hell about nonsense, and you have to put a guy like Kirk in a position where he has to apologize. We all knew what he meant when he was talking with Joey Galloway. I love Army-Navy. I've been to the game. I recommend anyone to go to the game. It should be a bucket list item. Go to an Army-Navy football game. But nobody I know was looking forward to last Saturday because why? Because the normal college football season was over. We didn't have games all day long. We didn't have championship Saturday. The season's over. And there's a sense of mourning for those who love football. I know Army and Navy was playing, just like you do. And Kirk knew that. But it's not the same. There weren't games all day long. Why should Kirk have to apologize for that? He wasn't disrespecting Army-Navy. The season is over. We're looking forward to the playoff and a few of the bowl games, but we all knew what he meant. But this is what I'm talking about. Everyone's so sensitive. You get so butthurt over the littlest of things. It's like, man, come on. As Kobe Bryant once said, where are your balls at? And Kirk should not apologize. He shouldn't have taken it to social media. You just move on. Who cares if there are a few people that get upset? If they don't understand what he was talking about when he said that, they're idiots. And frankly, life is too short to deal with morons. It is. And that's one thing I've taken away. I mentioned this, with the passing of my brother. And I'm really going to try and take it to heart because it's easy in life to have big moments that take place, good, bad, ugly, whatever the case may be, and then say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, but really you don't do anything. But the one thing I've learned with my brother who passed last week at the age of 53, there's no guarantee of a tomorrow. There's no guarantee of a next year. There's no guarantee of anything. Here one day and you're gone the next, like a mist. Psst. So I'm just going to take the time to enjoy life, and I'm going to enjoy moments, and I'm not going to deal or get frustrated over morons who do not understand the basics, like what Kirk Herbstreit was saying. The college football season was over. There weren't games all day long. He wasn't traveling around calling games. It probably was a weird feeling. I feel the same way after the Blazer season. What am I going to do? There's no basketball games left. You feel weird. So I understand what he was saying, but people are crazy, man. Gosh, always whining about this and that. It's like, oh, my gosh. Anyways, that's Kirk Herbstreit. He should not have apologized. Now, the playoff picture in the NFL, it's critical for the Seahawks to win this game coming up tomorrow. Now, I mentioned before that with the way the Seahawks are set up right now, they have a chance to get home field advantage. And I feel the same way about Seattle like I do with Denver, where there are certain teams that benefit more from being at home. For the Broncos, yes, they're a younger football team at spots, especially at quarterback with Nix. They got a couple of young receivers, young running back. But the reason why it's such an advantage is that in a playoff game, when you're in Denver, a mile above sea level, the fatigue becomes a factor in the fourth quarter. But most importantly, with that pass rush, and they've got the best pass rush in the NFL, when you're able to get off the ball quick because of the crowd noise, it gives your defense an inherent advantage. And the same thing with Seattle. They don't have the rarefied air of Denver, but that crowd noise and the intensity at Lumen Field is a serious advantage for Seattle. And that's something they can capitalize on. Now, for the Hawks, what they've got coming up, you host the Rams tomorrow night. Critical game. Huge. Then you go on the road against Carolina. And Carolina is good, but not great. You obviously can move the football in Carolina. And then you finish up with that critical game in Santa Clara against the 49ers. I mean, that's doable. It's not impossible. Win 3, secure the number 1 seed, and then you're dialed in. Because what I really want is a Broncos-Seahawks rematch from what we got in Super Bowl 48, because I feel like a little payback needs to be delivered. That's how I see that. That's how I view that. But the Hawks are in a great position. I love Mike McDonald. Their defense has been terrific all year. I love how they're able to get pressure without, bringing extra guys. I have ultimate respect for Mr. Schneider, their general manager, who's done a heck of a job of building that roster. And I like Sam Darnold. I like his makeup. I like the way he's been able to battle through difficulties in his career to get to a point now to where, he's playing big-time football. So, big opportunity for the Seahawks, but it's got to start tomorrow with the Rams. And the Rams may have the best roster in football, and they might be the best team in the NFL right now. And Matthew Stafford, the crazy thing about him, he's probably going to win the MVP. And Stafford, before the year began, there was questions on whether or not he'd be able to play because he had the back situation and didn't really participate in the preseason. But he has been lights out. And Stafford is a perfect example of elite quarterbacks. What happens is, you get into the league early, and Matthew Stafford was one of these guys. Elite arm strength, athletic, could move around and make plays. But what happens is with the great quarterbacks, as time goes on and they spend more years in the NFL, the physical tools will start to diminish to a degree. Now, at one point in time, Stafford could throw the ball 80 yards because he had a ridiculous arm. Now he's probably throwing in the high 60s, but he's learned how to take some off the fastball. So you learn how to, mix up your throws like a good pitcher, putting touch on the football, being able to anticipate and deliver it on time and with accuracy. And so what he's lost in the physical traits as time has gone on, you make up for that because the game slows down. You understand what the defense is trying to do, and you can manipulate the defense with your snap count, with your understanding of the offense, and being able to put the football on time and on target. And they've got good receivers, even with the injury to Devontae Adams. I just like that crew. But I like the Seahawks tomorrow night. But a lot of respect for the Rams and Matthew Stafford, who's super cool. And I think I told you when I was down in L.A. earlier, I think back in June, I went to multiple Dodger games and had some pretty good seats on a couple of the nights. And what was cool is I got to see Kershaw's first start of the year coming off the injury. And he and Matthew Stafford went to the same school. They're friends. And so Matthew Stafford, he came rolling out of the tunnel, And it was pretty cool because it was just him and his girls. So it was like dad night out at the ballpark. He was wearing his Kershaw jersey, and his girls couldn't care less about the game that's going on. They just wanted all the ice cream and the treats. And so it was cool to see Matthew being a dad running back and forth to the snack stand to hand deliver to his girls the treats that they wanted to eat. And he was just hanging out watching his boy and being dad. But I'm a big fan of Matthew Stafford. He's one of the special ones, and we got to enjoy that. But Sam Darnold's one of those guys, too. It's not his fault he was drafted by the Jets, and they tried to single-handedly ruin him, just like they do every other quarterback, because they're a pathetic franchise. But Matthew Stafford is a terrific quarterback, and that's why it's going to be important for Seattle to get pressure on him tomorrow night without bringing the extra guys. Certain guys you just don't blitz. Blitzing Matthew Stafford that's like playing with fire because he knows what you're trying to do. He can deliver the football on target, on time. He's great. So it's going to be a terrific football game tomorrow. Now, I think in both conferences, we have a fairly clear picture of which teams are going to be in the postseason, which teams are not. Starting in the NFC, the Rams are going to be in without question. I think we know that, right? They're going to be in. So if you start with the NFC West, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers. Rams and Seahawks have 11 wins. The 49ers have 10. I think Kyle Shanahan should get Coach of the Year for the job that he's done coaching and navigating through significant injury, and yet somehow keeping that team competitive and in a position to where they can be a postseason contender. It's very impressive. So you're going to have three teams from the West. In the NFC South, you will have Tampa Bay or Carolina. Both the Falcons and Saints have been eliminated. So Tampa Bay or Carolina, they play each other twice over the next 3 weeks. And they're both sitting at 7-7. So one of those teams, Tampa or Carolina, and that gives you 4. In the NFC North, I think we'll have 2 teams, Chicago and Green Bay. And that gives you 6 with Detroit and Minnesota on the outside looking in. Vikings have been eliminated. The Lions at 8-6 still have an opportunity, but they need some things to break their way. And then out of the NFC East, you'll have one team, the Philadelphia Eagles. So those are your 7 out of the NFC. Philadelphia, Chicago, Green Bay, Rams, Hawks, and 49ers. And the Hawks in a great position, along with the Rams, to potentially secure the number 1 seed. Now, in the AFC, picture's pretty clear. You'll have 2 teams from the AFC East. Patriots, who are 11-3, and the Bills, who are 10-4. Patriots have the inside track on the division. If the Bills do not win the division, they'll be a wild card and have to play away from home. So 2 teams from the East, New England, Buffalo. Out of the AFC North, you'll have 1 team. Pittsburgh at 8-6, Baltimore at 7-7, whoever wins the division. And right now, Pittsburgh has got a slight lead in the inside track. That gives you 3. Out of the AFC South, we're going to have 2 teams. It's going to be Jacksonville right now at 10-4. They'll be at Denver this weekend. And you've got Houston at 9-5. And those are 2 of the hottest teams in football. Texans have won 6 straight, and the Jaguars have won 5 straight. And both are playing terrific. So if you add those 2, that gives you 5. And out of the AFC West, you'll have 2 teams. The eventual number 1 seed at 12-2, the Denver Broncos, who have won 11 straight, and the Chargers, go Chargers, go, are 10-4. Have won 3 straight games, and there you have it. Those are your 7 teams. So we know what the picture is going to look like. The only question mark is who's going to win the AFC North and who's going to win the NFC South. The weird part is Tampa Bay started out the season on fire. Baker Mayfield put himself in MVP contention, and they've just fallen off a cliff. Their defense has been decimated by injuries, and they can't stop anybody. We saw that last Thursday against the Falcons. And Baker Mayfield went from MVP candidate now to struggling. And the Panthers, I love their coach, Dave Canales. I think they've been a fun team to watch. And it's cool to see Bryce Young playing better football. But that was a devastating loss that they took at New Orleans last week. Had a 17-7 lead, gave it up, lose on a last-second field goal. So there you have it. That's your playoff picture. So I can't wait. And for the Denver Broncos, for those, I think there are a lot of people still trying to figure out if they're a legit contender or not. All I can tell you is they've won 11 straight. They're 12-2. They've got a great defense, and they're going to be playing at home. They absolutely have a chance to get to the Super Bowl, which is awesome. Broncos are the only unbeaten team at home. They're 5-2 away from home. They've won 11 straight, and they just need a couple of more wins to secure that number 1 seed. So I don't know what to expect. It's wide open. The weird part is about the AFC, no Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson may be he may be sitting at home as well, and no Joe Burrow. But we're going to have some of the new blood in there. I love what Jacksonville is doing right now. They're opportunistic. They force a lot of turnovers. They run the football well, and they stop the run. I love the Houston Texans because of their defense. Their coach is terrific. C.J. Stroud is, just doing a good job of managing the game right now. But with their pass rush and their defense, they're so good that they're just going to hold you under 20 points. And you got to hope you can survive. And I don't think Pittsburgh or Baltimore really, I would not consider either one of them a true contender in the AFC. And I think New England and Buffalo are both legit. Buffalo, because they got Josh Allen, obviously, he'll be the best player in the playoffs. And New England, who has been opportunistic and has been a sound football team throughout the year. But most importantly, with their young quarterback, Drake May, he's not dinking and dunking out there. Like, he's attacking down the field. It was just shocking to see them, blow that 21-0 lead on the Bills. Didn't expect that. Didn't see the Bills coming back, and yet they stormed back into the game with 5 consecutive touchdown drives. And for Buffalo, I don't know if they can do it this year because they've got problems. They can't stop the run. They're too reliant upon Josh Allen. They don't really have the balance. They don't commit to the run the way they should, even though Cook is a terrific player. But Josh Allen is a beast. And he's really hard to defend because not only can he move really well for a guy of his size, but he's got the arm strength to make throws or attempt throws that other guys just won't because they don't have the ability to do it. And I love Josh Allen because I think he embodies Buffalo. I think he's a perfect cornerstone for that franchise. He's got toughness. He's got the mobility. He's got the confidence. He can make any throw on the football field. Like, Josh Allen he's a stud. I really like the guy. And his teammates love him. And I just thought that was a sign of toughness, too. He was vomiting on the sideline at New England and just walked back out on the field and led another touchdown drive like it was no big deal. After the game, he's like, yeah, just sometimes I got to let it out. I can't imagine the nerves and the tension that some of these guys feel. And there are a lot of stories like that. Mark Schlereth would urinate during the game on the field. Some guys vomit before the game. The Broncos had a defensive lineman named Darren Drozdoff. He would go into the bathroom and vomit before every football game. These guys get nervous because the competition is so fierce, man. It's awesome. So I'm pretty geeked, man. College football playoffs going to be great. And the NFL playoffs, I love Patrick Mahomes and I love watching him play. But to me, I couldn't care less. If you don't get in, I'm not going to miss you, right? So it's going to be fun to see some of these younger quarterbacks like Drake May, like Bo Nix, get a chance to get in there and see what they can do. C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, who's playing good football right now. Caleb Williams is going to get his first taste of the postseason. Maybe Bryce Young. I love that. How about Sam Darnold? What a job the Seahawks have done this year. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Antonio Harvey going to join me coming up at 4:20. I do appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. No, I want to play some for you. You tell me if you agree or disagree. And this is Rich Eisen on his radio show saying that NFL fans are going to miss having the Chiefs in the playoffs. You agree with this? Take a listen.
Here's what I want to say on this front with the Kansas City Chiefs not making the playoffs, first time in the Mahomes era. You're going to miss them. You're going to miss the Kansas City Chiefs when the AFC playoffs are hitting. You're going to miss the buzz. You're going to miss the pizzazz. You're going to miss Mahomes versus fill in the blank. You're going to miss Mahomes versus fill in the blank with no time left. You're going to miss something. The AFC playoffs will have less juice to it without the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And one day, all you Chiefs fatiguers out there, all you Chiefs fatiguers out there will admit it. You might have to go higher register. League's more fun when the Chiefs are good.
Look, people are happy about their downfall, but we got to see a generational talent,
Yes.
Rich. We got to see things in this decade that we've never seen before.
And I can't wait to see how they're going to come back and make it happen again.
He's not done, people.
And everything I just said is one big Mad Lib. You remember that children's game? Kids, there used to be something called Mad Libs where you would actually write
do
with a
kids know
pencil.
about Mad
Okay,
Libs?
I don't know.
Well, he's educating them.
I have no idea.
Tell him,
Everything's
Rich.
on a phone and on a device now.
All right, that's nonsense. We're not going to miss Patrick Mahomes being in the postseason. Now, I'm all for great quarterback play. I want to see great quarterbacks. I want to see great quarterbacks on the biggest of stages. But the idea that somehow the experience in the postseason this year is going to be less without Patrick Mahomes, it's absolute rubbish. The one thing I've learned about the NFL is that it's bigger than just one player. People are obsessed with the NFL, more so than any other sport. It's not even close. Now, this is where I'm different than a lot of people. I don't buy into this idea that you get tired of seeing the same team win. My whole thought is that if you go out there and earn it and you win multiple championships, you're Tom Brady or whoever, the Chicago Bulls, if you win multiple championships because you earned it, you deserve it. So I don't get tired of the same team winning over and over again. I also don't buy into the idea that somehow someone deserves a Super Bowl or someone deserves to win a playoff game. That's bullcrap too. If you earn it and you go out there and execute, then you deserve it. But if you don't earn it, you don't execute and get the job done, you don't deserve jack. You got to go out there and earn it. But I'm not going to miss the Chiefs. I'm just going to focus on different players, different storylines. And that's the name of the game. The Broncos had been doormats for the last decade in the division. The Chiefs were at the top, and the Broncos had one simple goal. Let's go out there and win the AFC West. That was the number one goal. Number two goal is the best possible seed that you can get. That would be number one for the Broncos. And then after that, the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs did not perform well enough this year. They underachieved. They weren't very good. And their record indicates that. And they weren't clutch in those one-score games. So the Chiefs did not deserve to be a member in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes didn't play as well. They couldn't run the football. Their defense was leaky and looked a little bit slow. They had issues with penalties. They didn't pass protect very well. They just didn't do all the things that were necessary to be a good football team. So they don't deserve to be there. So I'm not going to miss them for a second. There are plenty of other good storylines with or without Patrick Mahomes. I mean, just look at the teams. We already went through them, right? You don't think New England's a great story and a fun team to watch with Drake May and Mike Vrabel coaching his tail off? What about Josh Allen, arguably the greatest quarterback on the planet right now? You don't think that guy's going to be a lot of fun to watch? What about the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, young quarterback who is wheeling and dealing right now? Or the Texans with their defense, DeMeco Ryans, and their quarterback, C.J. Stroud. You got the Broncos and Bo Nix. You've got the Chargers and Justin Herbert. In the NFC, we've got the Jalen Hurts story. You've got a new quarterback in Caleb Williams who is electrifying to watch. the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love, who's been great this year. Either the Bucks with Baker, who's fun to watch, or the Panthers with Bryce Young. And then you've got the Rams with Matthew Stafford, the Hawks with Sam Darnold, and the 49ers with Brock Purdy. Yeah, no one's going to miss the Chiefs. All right, that's garbage. They didn't play well enough. They're not a good enough football team this year, and they've got to go back and retool. I was surprised to see that report today that the Chiefs are eyeing a week one return for next year. Because what are we in right now? So mid-December, so December to January, January to February, February to March, to April, to May, to June, July, August. So you're looking at 9 months. Can Patrick Mahomes fully recuperate from an ACL and be back in the lineup to start in week one? It's definitely possible. It's pretty amazing to see the advancements that we've had in, sports medicine over the years, where an ACL used to be, like a full year, right? And now guys are able to come back in less than a year. Even what they're doing with the Achilles tears now and the ruptures and the way that they've been able to get guys, back and performing at a decent level, like Kevin Durant. That wasn't the case back in the day. So we'll see with the Chiefs. But the NFL is great because, well, right now I think the league is very healthy because you have a lot of good young quarterbacks. And that's the strength of the league. With or without Patrick Mahomes in the postseason, they've got plenty of good young quarterbacks and a lot of great storylines. Like I like the Seahawks. I want them to get the home field because I like the Sam Darnold story. I think it's great. And the work that Mike McDonald has done. And John Schneider with the way he's been able to add talent on both sides of the ball, especially with that young defense. That's a great story. How about the 49ers with Brock Purdy? They've had injuries up and down the line, and here they are working their tail off, finding ways to win football games. It's different. The postseason, like in basketball, especially back in the day, like if I'm watching the NBA playoffs when I was younger, if there was no Bird, no MJ, and no Magic Johnson, that would not be the same. But basketball is a different type of sport where we watch, at least I did, I think a lot of people do. The league has always marketed itself on its stars. I watch games because I want to watch individual players and see what they can do. But in the NFL, I'll tune in to watch a couple of quarterbacks or whatever, but we're much more team-driven in the NFL. Regardless of who's playing quarterback, like you'll tune in to watch your team play. And I think that it's the same case with the postseason. And frankly, it's kind of nice to see a team like Denver or a team like New England or some of these other squads rise up and put themselves in a position to win their division. What about the Bears with Caleb Williams? I did not have the Bears on my bingo card winning the NFC North, but yet it looks like they're probably going to do that. Now, they got a big game with Green Bay this weekend, but they're in a position to do it. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Antonio Harvey is going to join me coming up at 4:20. Looking forward to that conversation as we get ready to celebrate the reunion of the 99-2000 Trailblazers. You're going to be focused on for the game on Monday at Moda Center. You can reach out to me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, 4 o'clock chat here. Trailblazers back in action tomorrow. Host the Kings. Tip at 7, Rip City Drive. And Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt will be live from Moda Center right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Antonio Harvey going to join me coming up at 4:20. College football playoff will kick off on Friday. Alabama at Oklahoma. The Tide are favored by a point. Join me Saturday at Spirit Mountain Casino for the college football playoff triple header. I'm going to be live noon to 3, giveaways, drink specials, 18 screens to watch all the action. Spirit Mountain is your place to bet on college sports, including the Oregon Ducks. Patrick Mahomes had surgery to repair his knee and has started rehab. Chiefs are in a week 1 return. The Dolphins have benched Tua. Quinn Ewers to get the start this weekend against the Bengals. And Titans quarterback Cam Ward wants to have conversations with all of the potential coaching candidates as the team searches for their next head coach. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. It's pretty funny. As you know, I've mentioned some of the Christmas songs that I despise. And number 1 on that list is Feliz Navidad. They should have never made the song. And it makes my ears scream out in horror every time it comes on. But it was pretty funny. I think it was the Bruins and the Utah Mammoth. Like, there's an absolute melee on the ice, a brawl with basically every single player involved. And the best part is, during the brawl, the arena was blasting Feliz Navidad. Like, I need more of that in my life. Guys looking to just kick each other's ass, and you've got Feliz Navidad, one of the worst songs ever created, blasting at unreasonable levels. Like, that's funny to me. And hockey's great, man. It's the one sport where you can still, like, get after one another without people freaking out. Like, hockey, you're still allowed to fight, thank goodness. And it's pretty simple, right? You got guys, elite athletes with sticks. You got to let them blow off some steam once in a while, or they'll start carving each other up with a stick. That's why they have the penalty box, and that's why they're allowed to fight. But fighting with Feliz Navidad playing in the background is pretty awesome. The one thing I've noticed at NBA games that drives you crazy, why do they have, like, the house mixtape going during play? Is that necessary? I noticed that the other night at Moda Center, like, the Blazers are coming down the offensive end, and they got, like, the freaking house mix going at the same time. The NBA arenas are doing that. It's too much noise. Like, why not just get back to a simpler, more gentle time of basketball where, like someone at the Boston Garden would be playing the Oregon during timeouts. But now we got, like, the house mix rolling during play. It drives you crazy. But if they want to play Feliz Navidad, that's the one time where Feliz Navidad is acceptable. If there's a brawl on the ice and you've got multiple players punching each other, I want that song played at that point in time. I think that's pretty sweet. Gosh. Unbelievable. All right, you can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. You can hit me up on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. Antonio Harvey is going to join me coming up at 420. The Blazers are going to honor the 99-2000 team coming up on Monday. So we'll talk to Harvey about that squad, and I want to find out what made that squad special. Should have won the championship, as we all know, but did not. Okay, the other thing that just absolutely chaps my hide are these NBA teams who are considering or having conversation about raising an in-season banner for winning the NBA Cup. If Adam Silver wants to have an in-season tournament, like if Skeletor thinks that's a good idea for the league, whatever, I don't care. But this whole idea that somehow the NBA Cup or the in-season tournament matters it's just a bunch of crap. It's poppycock. It does not matter. The games do not matter. They're just, for the most part, regular season games, aside from the title game that doesn't even count in the standings. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the Portland Trailblazers ever win an NBA Cup. I couldn't care less. What I care about is an NBA championship. I care about a Larry O'Brien trophy. I care about the grind of an 82-game schedule and then having to go through the second season in the NBA playoffs and grinding through 7-game series after 7-game series to eventually hoist the trophy that matters. You cannot hang banners for an NBA Cup championship. That is just, it's nonsense. If you want to have the in-season tournament, that's fine, but don't pretend like it matters or somehow the games are more important. And this whole idea that somehow the players care more about the NBA Cup games or that the games are better or that the players play with more energy or whatever, absolute rubbish. I don't buy it for a second. So that's why I stand on that. But no, you should not raise a banner. Think anyone gives a flying rip about a banner hanging in the arena that says you won the cup? Big deal. And great, you won a couple extra regular season games. Good for you. You want a cookie? Did you get Capri Sun and orange slices during the halftime of that game too? It's just garbage, all right? It's like a participation trophy or something. What really matters is the Larry O'Brien trophy. We got the trophies in sports that matter. You want to raise a banner for a Stanley Cup title? Good. You want to do it for the Vince Lombardi? Good. Larry O'Brien? Yes. NBA Cup? No. Don't do it. Why? And not only that, but you should not be raising banners for, conference championships or division championships either. If you want to have a place in the arena to kind of, detail the history and the success you've had in your conference, your division, that's fine. But don't raise banners. Banners are special. They should be, reserved for the players that have really been special in your franchise. When you retire their numbers, raise a banner. Or for championships. But you don't raise banners for no reason whatsoever. Do it for the things that really matter. And I just don't understand the whole NBA Cup thing. Gosh, it just gives me anxiety. That's the problem with the Cup. It's like I'm trying to find out a reason why I should care more about the Cup games than any other game, but the problem is there's no stakes. There's nothing involved. The players get a chance to have a little side jack, a little chunk of change. Good for them. I'm happy for them. I want the players to make as much money as possible. But the games are just regular season games. They're no different than any other regular season game. So that's why I stand on that. That's why I think, football is so excellent compared to, baseball and basketball, is because you've got a very small inventory of games. In the NFL, you've got 17 games? In college football, you play 12 games? So every single game matters so much. One loss can be devastating. A 2-game losing streak can nearly end your life. All of those things, the pressure and the uniqueness of having so few games and all of them matter so much is great. Love that. But this whole debate about raising a cup banner, are you kidding me? And once again, let's go back to Kobe. What would he say? Where are your balls at? Do you think Kobe Bryant, that's another good question. Do you think MJ would allow the Bulls, like if MJ had played during the NBA Cup days, do you think he'd be raising banners for an NBA Cup? No. Neither would Magic Johnson. Neither would Larry Bird. Kobe Bryant would laugh at the idea and say it's disrespectful to the game. Like, these guys would just think it's nonsense. And then you got guys like LeBron out there being fake like usual, pretending to care and popping champagne bottles. Gosh, LeBron just drives me bonkers. It's like, LeBron, please shut up. Can you just be real for one moment? Or are you just going to be a poser and fake your whole career? And I guess we know the answer to that question. I'm not down with LeBron. Great player, but he annoys me. He annoys me. And, he's like the poster child for the me generation that we see in sports now. And just like these players, too, I love it. These guys in college now announcing that they're returning to their school with a new NIL deal. No offense, but were you even considering leaving? I had no idea. Oh, whatever. And I'm not even being like yell at the clouds type of a guy. I like games that have consequence that really matter. Like right now in The NFL, the games here at the end of the regular season for a number of teams, critical because division championships and playoff positioning will be determined. And that's what I love about the playoff expansion for college football now is that we have so many games that have a lot of consequence, where if you lose, it could be devastating. If you lose, you may miss out on your opportunity to be a part of the playoff. Yeah, I like stakes to be really high. So there you have it. We'll see. But the NBA, what makes the NBA special is not the cup or winning some in-season tournament. What makes the NBA special is that it's a long season and it's a marathon. And for the teams that are able to get through with great success the 82-game schedule and then turn their attention to the second season, because what have you got? You've got 3 potential 7-game series in your conference and then another 7-game series in the finals, potentially. I mean, you could play a total of 28 more games. That's almost half of an NBA regular season. And you get through that grind and then you win a championship and you hoist that trophy, like that means something because you had to really sacrifice for that. I love that. I love those kind of things. And there you have it. That's just how I see that. Yeah, baseball is the same way, right? Like baseball is a long season. You know, you can survive an extended losing streak, but it's the whole idea of you have to battle and grind through 162 games. You put yourself in playoff position, and then you got to go through, you know, the grind of the postseason. And so when you finally get to a point where you can hoist a World Series championship, it matters. I love that kind of stuff. 503-248-0620. Still waiting for word on Drew Holiday. I'm looking forward to Holiday, Scoot, and Matisse Thybulle getting back in the lineup because the Blazers are going to play much better basketball when those guys are back. Better defense. They'll have better rotation numbers, so guys will be rested and not exhausted and fatigued with the basketball. Puka Nacua says that the refs, the worst, make calls to get on TV. It does appear that way sometimes, right? Like, I was watching this weekend. It continues to blow my mind. The NBA and the NFL have got an officiating problem. And I love the clowns that try to defend the officials like, oh, Chad, it's a really tough job. No, it's not tough not to suck like these guys do. But the NFL, they are just brutal right now. The pass interference penalties, I don't know. I don't know what you do. But it's just amazing to me that the league is worth billions and billions of dollars. And you've got hundreds of millions of dollars being bet on the games, and yet they allow these officials to go out there and just mar up the action. It's like, are you kidding me? And the NBA, too. My issue with the NBA is that, one, they suck, but two, the wild inconsistency from game to game based on who's calling it and how the game's going to be called. And then they get upset when players, like, fight and stuff, but if you look at the officials who don't control the action and they allow things to get out of control, that's the problem. So I don't know. It's just amazing to me that the officiating can be so poor when you have so many hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into the league. I just don't understand. They should use better technology to help the refs out. Like the one thing I like in the NFL is that replay assist. And I think there's going to be another conference. Is it the Big 12? I love what the ACC is doing where they, during the broadcast, they'll actually go inside the replay studio so you can hear the discussion that's going on when they're reviewing a play. Like, that's good. More transparency is a good thing because when bad calls are made and there's no transparency, we all think we're getting screwed or that the fix is in or that something else is going on. You know, and I think more transparency will help with the integrity of the league. Let us hear the discussion. Let us know what's going on. I would love if they did that for the NFL games. But I have no idea how some of these guys, you watch a play and like, how'd they come up with that call? It's weird to me. All right, Antonio Harvey is coming up next. Love Tone, and we'll get his take on the 99-2000 Trailblazer team that's going to be recognized on Monday. You got the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Antonio Harvey's up next. I just got a message on X from Daryl, and he said, Chad, I think the cup games are good for the guys at the end of the bench that could really use the money, and the two-way guys. Other than that, it's a joke. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. It is what it is. It's just regular season basketball games. I said gauges. I had, that little hand that's like a part of your mouse. It was covering up the word, so I tried to guess what it was, and then I moved the mouse. I was like, oh, that says games. There you go. All right, we're hoping to get a phone call from former Trailblazer Antonio Harvey. The Trailblazers are going to welcome in the 99-2000 squad that raced all the way to the Western Conference Finals and lost to the Lakers in Game 7. I don't need to reset that. I think we're all aware of what happened. It was very unfortunate, but the Blazers are going to celebrate that team. They finished that year, I think, 59-23. And recorded the second most regular season wins in franchise history. And then had playoff series victories over the Timberwolves and the Jazz before that matchup with the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. So that's coming up on Monday. And then what we're going to do on Sunday that I think is pretty good is that we're going to honor that team on Sunday starting at 1 o'clock. And we're going to replay two of the games. The Game 5 clincher against the Utah Jazz. And then also the Game 6 win over the Lakers, which set up the Game 7. And I've talked to Brian Grant. He thought after that Game 6 victory, they were going to go to L.A. and get the win and move on to the NBA Finals. Well, I'm very happy to go to the phones right now. My former partner in morning radio, former Trailblazer and Trailblazer analyst, Antonio Harvey. What's up, brother? Antonio, are you there? What's up, Tone? What's up, Tone? All right, Brendan, you got to get that figured out. All right, let's bring him on. What's up, Tone? All right, Brendan, get that figured out as quickly as possible. As I mentioned yesterday, we have moved into a new studio, and with that, you have the occasional haunted studio situation, and that's what we got right now. A haunted studio with bugs that we're trying to work through. Hey, Tony, you there? What's up, brother?
I'm here. What's going on, man?
Oh, brother. Hey, I want to start out with this because I played it earlier, and I want to see if you remember this. You and I used to do morning radio together with the Godfather, Dwight James, but I love all versions of Antonio Harvey, but my favorite is White Tone. Take a listen to this.
Oh.
Yeah, it's White Tone in the house. He's going to hit you in your mouth. Watching TV on the couch? Hey, this is what I'm all about. Now, come on, LeBron. Don't be dumb. Are you mad at D. West for getting with your mom? Cleveland, my friend, is going to end badly. It's Delonte's with your mom. Are you calling him daddy? If you leave, I hope you know, the city's going to snub you. Don't be angry with your mom. She just needed love, too. She's single and ready, and LeBron James's mother, if it wasn't D. West, it was going to be another. She got what you needed. Come on, you should be happy. Your mom's my age. Maybe I could be your pappy. Call me in the show and dispel this rumor. Don't be mad at us, too. It's just MSP humor. Oh, yeah. White Tone. Rocking the mic. Giving you what you like. It's the MSP, baby.
Hey, Tone, that is so good. That freestyle there is White Tone. You got to, hearing that now, you got to be impressed with the work, brother. That was awesome.
Oh, man, it was a different time, I'll tell you that. Different version of me, I think, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
Hey, before we get started with the basketball talk, how's the family? How's your brother Richard? How are things?
You know what? Everybody is good. And speaking of, man, I would be remiss if I didn't send my condolences on your brother passing, man. I know that's a tough one for you to deal with, but I'm glad you're there, and, we're all here for you, brother.
Hey, I really appreciate that, Tone. It's great to hear your voice. I guess we'll start with this. That 99-2000 team that you were a part of, so many great players on that team and a very unique roster construction. What was it about that squad that made it so special?
Well, I think especially that first year, we just knew each other. right? We had three. We'll call it three different tiers of player, right? You had Stoudemire and Sheed and Bonzi. They were kind of the young crew, the up and comers, and then you had a middle-aged crew that was, me and Smitty and Stacey Augman and a couple of other guys. Brian Grant. I should probably put Jermaine O'Neal in there with that young crew. And then you had Pip and Detlef and Joe Klein and an older group. And so you had three solid cores that all got along really well. And then you had guys that kind of would flow between the groups to keep the cohesion there. And I really thought that first year, even though we lost to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, that team was the team that could have broken through and really did some damage in the league.
Yeah, no question about it. So how early on with that group did you know you had something special? Was it during training camp? Was it early in the season? Like, when did you know that things had really started to come together?
Well, I can tell you, for me personally, I knew how special it was like the third day of practice. I considered myself a defensive player and an athlete, an uber athlete. I got in practice. I realized that my defensive prowess was only average at best compared to these guys.
Wow.
And my athleticism wasn't that much greater than anybody else's. So I'm like, shoot, this is the first time in my career where I'm surrounded by guys who defend the way I like to defend, but can also meet me athletically. That was a challenge. And when I got and saw that, I was like, man, this is going to be something different. This has the potential to be something really special.
That team had so many great players. Who was the leader on that team?
Oof, that's a tough one. I would probably have to give that mantle to Smitty or Pip, and probably Pip as the number one option. But I think Smitty was 1A, and then Detlef behind that, and then it kind of just fell in. Depending on which age group you were in. I think definitely Pip led the older group, Smitty led the middle group, and then I'll probably say Sheed or Mighty Mouse ran the younger group, core group of guys.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You know what I loved about that squad too? Like my favorite type of basketball players are, versatile guys who can play both ways. And whether it was Det or Smitty or Sheed or Pip, like you guys had so many different players who could do so many different things on both ends of the floor.
I'm coaching now, and I use that team, and in particular, two players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to explain help side defense to my guys. I had never seen two guys like Sheed and Pip. They could shut down your entire weak side by themselves, which allowed so much more defensive freedom for strong side defenders. So you could essentially send three guys to the strong side and overload the defense on that side and still shut down their weak side because those two guys were so dang long, so athletic, and so good in terms of their understanding of what the other team wanted to do.
We're talking to Antonio Harvey. The Trailblazers are going to honor the 99-2000 Trailblazers coming up on Monday. Mike Dunleavy has been, obviously a lot of experience as a coach and has been around the NBA for a long period of time. What made him the right coach for that group at the time?
I think his offensive understanding. He just knew how to get guys in the right position to get the shot we wanted, to get the right player, the ball in the right place to be able to execute on offense. And he did it in a way that it didn't exclude other guys from getting opportunities. And I think that's really the key when you have that much talent, because you think how many alpha scorers we had. Smitty was an alpha scorer. Sheed was an alpha scorer. Det was an alpha scorer. Spit was an alpha scorer. Damon was an alpha scorer. Yeah. Bonzi was an alpha scorer. So you had a bunch of guys who were high-end scorers who learned to play within a system that allowed them all to flourish, maybe not to the extent that they had done in the past, but still flourish nonetheless.
I've heard Pop talk about that before, that the hardest thing to get players is to get them to accept their role. What's the key to getting guys to accept a role, even if it means they may not get the same type of touches or shot attempts when you're playing on a team that's so talented? How do you get that done?
I think there's two keys. One is honesty. You just got to tell them, like, hey, this is where you are. And the other piece is self-understanding, self-awareness, being able to look in the mirror and say, I got two options here. I can go against the grain and try to be the 25-point scorer or 20-point scorer that I was a year ago or 2 years ago, or I can have my averages come down to 17, 18 points, but we're going to win a championship. Mm-hmm. And my philosophy in basketball and in life, and I think you will agree with this, Chad, champions are what I like to call they're invaluable, right?
Yes.
Like Scotty Williams, Chicago Bulls. He's in Chicago. He wins 3 championships. Just a big player, but he's on the roster. He leaves and goes to Philadelphia and becomes like they bring him in strictly because of his championship pedigree. Not because of his basketball, but because he had won 3 championships. A champion is more valuable than the leading scorer in my book and apparently in a lot of books because I've seen a lot of guys come off of championship teams and get paid.
Boy, I'm with you on that 100%. That's what I love so much about a championship, even if it only happens once. Like, that's something that no one can take away from you because forever you're going to be known as the 2001 or the 2025 champion or whatever the case may be, and you get to remember that and be a part of that for the rest of your life and share in that with the relationships with the guys on the team. That, to me, is really special.
1977. Do I need to say more? Blazer fans fully understand how special and important a championship can be because we still celebrate the 77 championship, almost 50-plus years later, or right up on 50 years later, we're still celebrating that championship because they matter that much and they're so difficult to come across.
That's so true. How vocal was Sabas as a player and a teammate?
Sabas was probably not the most vocal, and I don't even think it was because of the language barrier. I just think Sabas was just, he was older. He had seen the world. He had played against just about everybody you could play against. I just don't think anything got him rattled, to be honest. Like, I don't ever remember Sabas seeing him, like, frustrated or angry or wanting to lash out. He just always seemed to have a calm demeanor about himself.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You know, it's great. We see so many great young bigs now who can do everything. But Sabas was really the first guy I had seen at that size that was so skilled that could shoot the three, handle the rock, and could pass it so well. And he handled the basketball like a grapefruit. But what was it like just watching him in practice and being around him and seeing that skill level for a player of that size?
We've seen it a few times, but really in terms of that size, there's only been a couple of guys. I would say Sabas was probably one, and then Jokic is probably second coming of Sabas. And I don't think he's as athletic as Sabas. Well, I know he's not as athletic as Sabas was. So, I think for me, having been around him, and I also got to play against him, as an opponent just in practice. So I got a chance to really get in the trenches with him. He was impossible to guard unless you were Shaq or Yao Ming because he was so big. I mean, Sabas was 320 easy. With all of that skill set and all of that ability to pass. So he was probably one of the most formidable players I've ever had to guard. Shaq obviously was Shaq, but you knew what he was going to do. Sabas could beat you in like 17 different ways. He was like a ninja out there.
I love that. He was like a basketball ninja. Is Shaq the most powerful basketball player you played against? Because I felt like Sabas at least gave Shaq a run for his money because he was willing to go down there and bang with him.
Yeah, and what's disappointing is Sabas gets kind of a bad rap because he was prone to the Euro flop, but he also didn't mind getting down there and banging with Shaq. Shaq was just so big, it was hard to deal with, but it was fun to watch those two match up. And I actually think in the grand scheme, Sabas was probably a better basketball player than Shaq. Shaq was just the most dominant thing the league has ever seen, and so he was able to do stuff that nobody else do.
Hey, Tone, when you look back on your career, you played so many games, but do the losses stand out? Do the wins stand out? Like, what comes to mind when you think about, the games and the time that you played?
I don't, if I'm being honest, Chad, I don't remember the games.
Yeah, because they all blend together, don't they? Yeah.
Exactly. They all blend together, so I don't remember the wins. I don't remember the losses. I don't even remember plays anymore. I think what I remember most was the excitement of the fans.
Yeah.
And that part of the interaction, like coming into Motor Center when we were rolling and knowing that the entire city of Portland had our backs and they wanted to see us and they were rolling with us and, they lived and died with us. They breathed with us. I think that's what I remember the most. Wins and losses, especially at 55 now, they're all the same.
Yeah.
You win some, you lose some. You just keep on going.
No, that makes sense. I've talked to other athletes before, like, is it really hard to, like, when you retire and you're done, like, there's nothing in life that can replicate that charge of rolling out into Motor Center and hearing the crowd cheer for you, right? Like, that's tough to replace.
No, it's impossible. And it's the reason why, most athletes in the first 2 or 3 years of retirement, they go through some sort of a depression. And what's really sad is most of us don't even know it. Like it took me to come out of depression and my wife to point out, kind of the issues that she was seeing for me to be like, wow, I really was not doing well. So yeah, there is something to that transition from the crowd cheering for you to retirement. It's a good thing once you get past it, but there is definitely some ups and downs in the first 2 or 3 years that you leave the game.
And okay, so I know you love coaching, and I think it's great that you're doing that because you've got a unique way of being able to communicate. So of all the things you've learned in all your time in basketball, like what's your philosophy? What are the top 2 or 3 things you're trying to communicate to the kids?
So first and foremost is one that I learned from Tim Gergerich when I was in Seattle the first time with him, and then here in Portland. And Gerg was an assistant coach with the Trailblazers and with the Sonics, both tenures. My philosophy is if I don't teach it to you, you don't know it. And that allows me to do is go into every practice, every game, every situation with the mindset of it's on me. Like too many times coaches want the players to know what they know without taking the time to teach it.
Yes.
So I am extremely meticulous, and everything matters, especially with younger kids and early on in the practice set. So, we've got, let's say the season starts in October. Well, those first 3 or 4, 5 weeks of practice, everything matters. Turnovers matter. Where you place your foot on defense matters. Every little thing matters because that's teaching time. Once we get past that, then I loosen up a little bit, and it becomes more about the overall, the higher level picture. But to me, it's understanding and teaching everything and being willing to understand that they don't know.
Yeah, it's so awesome. That's why I love Phillip Rivers, making the return to the NFL after 5 years off, and he's at 44 years old, and he coaches young kids, and he said he wanted to show them that, you don't want to let fear get the best of you, that if you want something, you got to go out there and get it. And I thought that was a great message to communicate to the kids. It's awesome to see that kind of stuff when you have athletes like yourself, like Phillip, who are doing things to work with and mentor younger players. I think it's awesome, Tone.
I heard his quote on that Chad, and it's funny because I had just written a post for my son. So I have a 14-year-old who picked up the game of basketball a couple of years ago, really dedicated to the game, really works hard, but he gets down on himself sometimes. And I think it's the fear and anxiety that we're talking about that gets to him. And one of the things I just sent to him the other day is that, it's okay because fear is just energy. You just got to learn how to harness it and how to utilize it. We're so afraid of fear. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Know that if you're afraid, it's because you know what you're doing matters. If you're afraid, it's because you know that this is going to lead to something great and you want that greatness. Don't run from that. Embrace that. Learn to live within it and then go get what you want.
Gosh, that's so awesome that you said that. It's cool, and you've told me about this before, being the player you were in the NBA, that there were times where, you didn't know if you're going to be on the roster, if you're going to be cut, or what the deal was. So you've told me that you channeled that energy to go out there and fight and give everything that you had in practice to showcase what you could do.
Oh, man, I never had a guaranteed contract. I played 8 years in the NBA without a single guaranteed contract.
Unbelievable.
And I wouldn't change anything. But also, and it's I'm glad you said that, it's the way I channeled my fear.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I remember when I got to Portland, I got here about 4 days before training camp started. And it was a group of us. It wasn't just me. It was me and about 4 other guys, all trying out for what was essentially 2 roster spots. And my first day here, I'm out shopping for an apartment. And the guys are like, where are you going? I'll tell them, I didn't know your contract was guaranteed. I said, it's not. But if I plan on being here, I have to have an apartment, and I plan on being here. So I'm starting that process now.
That's great.
So the fear that came from the unknown of not having the contract, I flipped it around into, I just have to accept that this is the only outcome that's acceptable. I got to be here. So I'm going to act in that way.
Well, that's a great message. To Antonio Harvey is with us. I got a couple more questions for you. So in that Game 7 against the Lakers, what's your assessment for why you guys were unable to get over the top?
Panic. if I'm being honest, and not panic as an individual, panic as a collective. Sheed was our best player. There was no doubt about that. He was the most unstoppable offensive presence we had. And I think that in that moment, everybody thought they could be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of reverting back to what got us there, we kind of splintered. And it wasn't a bad thing. It's just one of those unfortunate things that happens, especially when you have that much talent. You know what I mean? It would be different if it was Sheed and then the other four guys were me, you, the Godfather, and Gavin Dawson.
Yeah.
Right? That'd be different. Now we know that Sheed is the obvious go-to guy, and the four of us can get the heck out of the way.
Yeah.
But when you have Pip and Damon and Sheed and Smitty and Detlef and Savis and BG and, I can go on and on and on and on. Who's the go-to? Every one of those guys has been the go-to guy on their team at one time or another. And so I think that's really what got us, it was almost paralysis by analysis. Who's got the ball? Who should we be going to? And we ended up not going to anybody instead of saying, you know what, let's see what Sheed's got for the next 3 minutes. And if he doesn't have it, let's get it to Bonzi or let's get it to Pip or let's get it to Smitty. And we just never fell into that groove.
Boy, that's a great assessment. I've got one more question for you. You're a great storyteller, and for those who haven't heard the story, I want you to reset what took place. I think you were playing for the Vancouver. I think it was Vancouver at the time, and you're playing the Bulls and Michael Jordan. You want to walk us through what took place and how you had to have a conversation with somebody in that game?
Yes. So this story, I think, if I'm being honest, I think this is my Bob Uecker moment. So more people have seen that clip than ever saw me play.
It's so good.
So what happened was, first, and if you don't mind, Chad, if we got time, I want to share the preemptive part of that story so people understand who Michael Jordan was to me.
The stage is yours. You have as much time as you want. Break it down.
So my dorm room in college, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, Michael Jordan posters.
I love that.
Right. He was my idol beyond idols when it came to basketball. Not that I wanted to play like him, but he was still Michael Jordan. All right. So that sets the scene for how much I love Michael Jordan. Then the summer before my rookie season, he retires right before the season starts and goes plays baseball. So my entire rookie year, he's playing baseball. My entire second year, so I'm done. I'm never going to meet my idol. It's okay. It happens. My entire second year, first half of my second year, he's still playing baseball. Then we hear the rumors that he's coming back. And we're on the docket to play them as the Lakers. Well, he comes 2 games after we play him. So now I'm at the end of year 2, still haven't seen my idol. I get to Vancouver, year 3, now he's fully back in the league, been here since preseason. Okay, here's my chance to play against my idol. So the day before the game, we're all we're practicing, and as it turns out, the Bulls are practicing on the court next to us. But the way the practice facility was built, we couldn't see them. So I didn't know that Chicago was in the next court. Practice is over. I come out. I'm in the weight room to get my post-practice lift on, get my lift, sit up. Next to me, Black Jesus.
Amazing.
More amazing than you could ever imagine. All I could do was sit there and watch for like 45 seconds and just take in and soak in being this close to my idol. So that's so that's everything that happens the day before. Now we game day and we're winning. We're going to the fourth quarter. I think we're up by 6 or 8 points. We got control of the game. We're feeling really good about our opportunity here. And Derek Martin, sorry, your phone. And Derek Martin, who was our backup point guard, spent the summer with MJ in the Dome at Warner Brothers.
Yep.
For Space Jams, when they were filming Space Jams.
Yep.
So he got what we call in the South familiar, or at least he thought he did. Well, we're winning the game. There's about, call it 8 to 10 minutes to go in the game. We're up by 16. Like, we're killing the Bulls. Derek starts talking trash to Michael Jordan. He summarily laces his shoes up. How far gone he was, Chad. He had taken his shoes off. He was done. We were ready to win the game. He's sitting over there with a towel on his chest and his legs crossed and his shoes untied. And Derek Martin starts talking to him. So he got up off the bench, checks himself back into the game, and commences to scoring 24 points in the last 8 minutes. They win the game. He hits a fadeaway jump shot to seal the game, and as he's passing by our bench, he says some really choice words to Derek Martin, and that was the end of that until we got in the locker room, and the entire team wanted to choke Derek Martin out because he woke up the beast. Like, dude, come on, man. You don't say anything. You don't say guys you don't talk to on the basketball court. You never talk to MJ. You never talk to Larry Bird because Larry was notorious for trash talking.
Yes.
Like, those two guys, and you probably shouldn't say anything to Clay. You know, but I can't. But those three guys in particular, because of their competitive nature, keep it shut, zip it,
Yeah.
and throw away the key.
No question.
But yes, that was a great time.
No, it's a great story. So, when you had a chance to talk to MJ for the first time, what did you communicate to him?
Huh?
When you had a chance
Communicate.
when you had a chance to meet him for the first time, did you say, "What's up? Respect you," or like, what do you say to him?
Nothing. That's MJ.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that any word I say may offend him, so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
It was so bad, Chad. He came down on a fast break. Oh no, he beat Blue Edwards to the rim, and I blocked a shot. And my initial response was to apologize. I had to catch myself because I was so worried that if I'm going to get him started and he's going to kill us. Well, it did, and he did. So, yeah, some people you just don't talk to.
But it is surreal, right? Because like MJ was your guy, and as you know, John Elway's mine, and your brother played with Elway in the Broncos, which is awesome. But the first time I was in the same room with Elway, and I looked over, like it freaked me out. I was like, "Oh my God, that's John!" I just stared at him, Tone. I just stared at him. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do?"
So Chad, there's only been 2 times in my entire life where I was completely enamored with a human being. You just heard the story about MJ. The other time, I was flying back from Europe. I had been playing in Europe for a couple of seasons, and I was flying back to L.A., and on my flight was, in my opinion at the time, the all-time greatest music producer in the history of music, Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes? Oh, man.
The young folks know him as Chef from South Park. But Isaac Hayes was a music person for me, and he's a Memphis guy, and I'm from the South, so his music inspired my childhood.
Gosh, that's
and
great.
So I'm on a plane, and he's in the seat behind me the entire flight. It's a 12-hour flight. Most of that flight, I got up there trying to figure out how I was going to say hello to Isaac Hayes. Hey, Mr. Hayes, big fan of your music. Oh, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's going on in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, this was the coolest part of that story. We finally land in L.A., and I'm like, I can't let this moment go by. And this is pre-cell phones. Like, this is, you just meet people. You don't take selfies. There's nothing behind it. You just get to meet them. Well, finally, I struck up the courage because we're getting off the plane, and I say to him, Mr. Hayes, I'm a huge fan, da-da-da-da-da-da. He said, Antonio, love the way you play.
Oh, yeah.
You know I was in heaven.
Oh.
Oh, come on. To know that your idol recognized you. Well, he was a Laker fan.
Oh, that's
and he
so
had
cool.
seen me play at the Laker games. And I was just like, I was totally blown away by that moment. Like, that's one of those give you chills moments because nobody expects their idol to even know they exist.
Dude, I love that so much. I'm so glad you shared that. That is terrific, man. That's. Hey, Tony, you going to be in the building on Monday?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I had the pleasure, and I don't know if you were around last year, but we've been doing this now, these reunions for a couple of years now. So I've had the pleasure of being the host for the reunions. I get to ask the questions.
Oh, great.
So this year, how dope is it that I get to ask my teammates questions? But even more so, I was there to experience. I know the answers to the questions that I'm going to ask, most of them. So I think that's going to be the fun part because I get to tweak the questions to get the answers I think our fans are going to want to hear.
Well, I tell you what, you guys have a strong place in Trailblazer history. And, Tone, you know I got nothing but respect for you, man. Thanks for coming on, dude. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It's always fun, Chad. You know you got me anytime you need me, brother. Just give me a call.
Okay, brother. I appreciate it. There you go, Antonio Harvey, breaking it down. Derek Martin needs to keep his mouth shut, right? We learned that. You don't talk to Black Jesus. What are you doing? I think the other part of the story that he did not mention there is that Byron Scott went up to Derek Martin in the locker room and said, you ever bleep and talk to the guy I'm guarding again, I will kick your bleep. I think that's how that went down. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Big props to Antonio Harvey. That was awesome. All right, needless to say, Antonio Harvey destroyed the radio clock, but it was worth it. So we're going to come back, and we'll continue to roll here on the Rip City Drive. You can reach out to me at 503-248-0620 or find me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. Big thanks to Antonio Harvey here on the Rip City Drive. The college football playoff will kick off on Friday. It's going to be Alabama and Oklahoma from Norman. The Tide right now are favored by a point. We got a triple header in the college football playoff on Saturday. You join me live at Spirit Mountain Casino. I'll be on air from noon to 3. Giveaways, drink specials, 18 screens, including a 165-inch big screen where you can watch the Duck game. Spirit Mountain Casino is your place to bet on college sports. From the NFL, Patrick Mahomes had surgery to repair his knee and has started rehab. Chiefs are eyeing a Week 1 return next season. The Dolphins have benched Tua, and Quinn Ewers is going to get the start this weekend against the Bengals. Titans quarterback Cam Ward wants to have conversations with all of the potential coaching candidates. Trailblazers back in action tomorrow. They'll host the Kings. Tip at 7. Rip City Drive and Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt live from Moda Center right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. More of the Rip City Drive with Chad doing coming at you right now. It must be my lucky day. I've got Phil Collins playing in my ear right now, and I've got the NFL Network on in the studio, and they just started the replay of the Packers-Broncos game from Sunday. As you might imagine, that was a great game for the Chad. The Broncos have won 11 straight games. They are 12-2, and I couldn't care less about the haters who don't buy into the Broncos. Well, every one of you can suck it, all right? The Broncos are 12-2, best record in the NFL, 11 straight wins, and are going to get the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. And in my lifetime, when the Broncos get the number 1 seed, that usually results in very good things. That was a great game. I went into it thinking the Broncos were going to lose. They were down by 9. Patrick Surtain had a great pick, and the rest is history. They rolled after that. And Bo Nix played the best game in his young NFL career. Loving it. Love what the Broncos are doing right now. I mean, it's just great. After a 10-year drought with horrendous quarterback play, after winning the Super Bowl 50, the Broncos are now in prime position to get back to the bowl. And that makes me very happy. And, oh, by the way, they have a quarterback on his rookie deal, and the Russell Wilson contract will come off the books, and they'll be free and clear of that for next year. That means they can continue to add quality players to their team. They're in a short window right now where they can make a run. But as we know, you've got to make sure that you capitalize on the opportunities that are in front of you. And this might be their best look with Bo. You're going to get the number 1 seed. You got to capitalize on that. And we'll see if they have what it takes to get the job done. Now, I saw this report. Cam Ward, the rookie quarterback for the Titans, wants to be involved in the discussions as they search for a new head coach. And the way it was presented in the headline, they made it almost sound like Cam Ward was being a diva. But I got to be honest with you, if you're talking about a franchise quarterback or a guy that you just drafted number 1 overall, there's no issue with having Cam Ward get a chance to meet with the potential head coaches and then get his take on what he thinks. You don't have to do what he says. You can hire the coach that you believe is the best candidate for the job. But I don't think there's anything wrong with involving your quarterback in those type of conversations, those meetings. Get his take. Because ultimately you want to find a head coach that's going to be able to work with the young quarterback and get him on the right pathway to success. That's really what it comes down to. You know, the Broncos have that with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. There's a good relationship there, and they're moving in the right direction. We're seeing it right now with Caleb Williams and the work that Ben Johnson has done, Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. Like, you want to have a good relationship between coach and quarterback. It's the most important relationship, when it comes to NFL football. You've got to have that right, coach, quarterback. It's the most important thing. So if Cam Ward wants to be involved in the discussions, I think that's good. I would have a problem if he didn't want to be involved in the discussions. Like, if he took the approach like, hey, that's above my pay grade, I'll let them worry about that. Like, that would concern me too. But clearly it shows that he's taken an interest in who's going to be coach. He cares about, being in the best position to have success, and I think that's a very good thing. So that's the way I look at it. But, it's so easy because people now are like, well, he's being a diva. No, he just cares about who's going to be coaching him. And frankly, I would like to share some input because I've seen some of these teams and who they hire. And based on the Titans' recent track record, they need help. That's a pathetic franchise. They had a great coach in Vrabel and let him go. And then they hired a complete buffoon. So maybe it's good that Cam Ward wants to share a little input on who they should hire as coach. Like, seriously, if you're the quarterback for the Jets, do you have any trust whatsoever that their front office and their ownership group is going to be able to figure out who to hire? Well, of course not, because they're dumb. And dumb franchises continue to make bad decisions. That's what they do. Like if you're quarterback for the Browns, or let's say you're Joe Burrow with the Bengals, do you have complete confidence that the people above you are going to do the right thing? Yeah, probably not. And you shouldn't. But the Broncos, not a surprise that they're back on the top where they should be. As soon as they found their new owner, Greg Penner, who's like the richest owner and the guy that cares and knows what it takes to be successful, as soon as they brought that dude in, I knew they were going to be fine because he's willing to spend. Like the Broncos spend money because they can. Every year now, ever since Penner took over, midway through the season, they replaced the entire field at Mile High Stadium and put new sod down because he cares about the players. These other owners that are just cheap, pinching their pennies. And you got to love that too, billionaires who pinch their pennies and don't want to lay down new turf. They don't want to get grass. They don't want to take care of the players. They're just being cheap ass. And I hate that, man. Why these NFL players are not playing on grass is beyond my understanding. If I was an owner, I would want my players playing on as much grass surfaces as possible to protect them. And these owners can do it. They just don't want to pay the money. That's what it comes down to. They're cheap. Maybe that's why they're rich, because they don't spend wildly like I do. Maybe that has something to do with it. But come on, man, take care of your guys. And the stuff that when I was younger that the players grew up playing on, that I saw, like at Vet Stadium and all this stuff with the concrete and the artificial turf, horrific. The Kingdome at one time, they had to shut it down because there was a piece of metal in the turf that was dicing up players, and they were getting cut. That sounds pretty safe. And then, of course, the tiles that were falling from the top of the Kingdome down on top of people. Not good. So they played at Husky Stadium for a while until they made the repairs. But I don't think it's too much to ask, hey, can you please remove all metal pieces from your AstroTurf so guys don't get diced up? Can you do that for me? But that's the stuff they used to do. But now I like these NFL owners that take a more pro-player approach, to do whatever is necessary to make sure the players are comfortable, that they're being protected, because you're investing, hundreds of millions of dollars into your players. And the surface that they play on is critical. But no, I don't have an issue with Cam Ward. Good. I want my quarterback to have, some investment in terms of the process. And if I were the quarterback, I would take great interest in the coach. We all do, right? You ever worked at a company and they bring in a new boss? That's a grip session, isn't it? Every time in radio they bring in a new boss, I'm like, well, I'm done. I'm screwed. Because you don't know them. You don't know what's going on. And of course, no one's ever going to ask me to sit in on a boss. Hey, we're thinking about hiring a new general manager. Can you sit in, Chad? We need your take. No one cares about my take. But then again, I'm not an NFL quarterback. Hey, Chad, we need to hire a new regional manager. Can you please sit in? We want your input. That's never happened to me. No one ever comes to me and says, hey, frankly, no one ever cares what the sports guy has to say about anything. That's probably a good thing. I've spent way too much of my time throughout my years watching sports and diving into numbers and statistics and a bunch of meaningless stuff. No one cares what I have to say, and that's a good thing. Like I've said before, I'm a no-talent ass clown. I don't have a lot to offer, but if you want to talk about like vintage 1980s basketball players or different random people from the NFL, I'm your guy. So I can be your guy in certain situations, but you probably don't want my input on a head coach or a general manager or a regional manager or whatever. And I'm okay admitting that. I know my role. I know my role. I have found my slot in society, and I just go with it. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Here's what's coming up the rest of the way. Coming up at 5:30, we're going to kick it over to the 68 Ventures Bowl for Louisiana and Delaware. We have a number of different bowl games we're going to carry throughout the course of the bowl season. Tomorrow, Rip City Drive, I'll be over at Moda Center live from 3 until 5. Chris Burkhardt will be live with Game Day at 5. Tip off with the Kings at 7 o'clock. And then the Blazers will play again on Saturday. So there's been a nice little reprieve in the schedule where they played basically 1 billion games, and now they get a bunch of time off last week and this week. It's good. They need it right now. Shorthanded group with playing a lot of games, fatigue, and all that different stuff that can set in. Man, I hope the Broncos get to the Super Bowl. I need that in my life. How many times has that happened? I've been on air. How many times? 3? 1? Okay, so they went. How many times did they get to the Super Bowl? The Super Bowl. They went twice with Manning, and then that was that. It might be this year. I've only been working in this business during 2 Super Bowl trips for the Broncos. One, they got worked by the Seahawks. The other one, they beat the Panthers. So I want that experience again of being on air so I can talk about the Broncos being in the Super Bowl for 2 weeks. The Super Bowl. Denver. You know, the whole deal. I want that. I need that. I know most of you probably don't care about that, but I certainly do. Robert does not care about Denver.
Robert in Portland. What's up, Robert?
Okay, you're saying New England and Denver.
Yes.
So who's smarter, Brady or Manning? Who's smarter?
Hey, why are you yelling?
Belichick or your quarterback?
I'm going to say that Peyton Manning's smarter than
New
Belichick.
New England.
What is your point?
I'm sorry. New England. We beat Manning so many times. We beat.
Hey, what happened the last time that Manning faced Brady in the playoffs? What happened the last time Brady faced Manning in the playoffs?
Sorry. We're going to Super Bowl. Bye.
It's amazing. That's a 48-second clip, and Robert displayed everything that you get in a drunk person. Slurring of words, making no sense whatsoever. He yelled at me, "Who's smarter?" Why are you yelling? Just trying to have a conversation with you. And then he apologized, like all drunk people. I'm sorry, man. I did not mean to touch you there. I'm sorry. He did. What are you, Harry Carey? Settle down, Robert. Who's smarter? Soup Bowl? I thought it was the Super Bowl, but apparently, according to Robert, it's the Soup Bowl. And it's not quarterback, it's coreback. Coreback. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Anyone want to bet me on the Green Bay-Denver game? It's scoreless right now with 8:38 to go in the first quarter. I'll take the Broncos, and I'll give you 7 points if you'd like to wager. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive.
A massage.
Well, I came across a cool story when I got stuck in YouTube mode last night. I'll share that in just a moment. I'm seeing this pop up occasionally on X. These people that put out the television coverage map for the NFL games, like this guy's from Denver, and he's putting out the coverage map for the Broncos and Jaguars, which is probably the best game of the weekend. And it's a smaller portion of the country that's going to see the Bronco game. And I think the majority will get the Chargers and the Cowboys, which makes sense because the Cowboys are such a major draw. But I don't even know why this is an issue. Like, are there actually people out there that still only watch NFL games based on what's being shown locally? Like, I use the NFL ticket, and I pay for it, and the YouTube platform has been phenomenal for Sunday Ticket. It's great. I absolutely love it. But if you don't want to pay for it, there are, shall we say, creative streaming options for you to where you can access any game you want at no charge. All you have to be is somewhat literate with a computer or your handheld device. When was the last time you paid for a game that you wanted to see? Because you know how to access games outside of the norm, don't you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'd say Oh, yeah, I can tell you, Chad. The 2 times this year Oregon State football played on ESPN Plus. Pretty hard to get the ESPN Plus feed I found out there, so I had to pay for both those games. But to your point,
But you didn't have to. You could have accessed it. There are some European websites where you can access any game you want.
Okay, I might need
Just
to chat with you a little bit after this. But no, I'm kind of the same way, Chad. I'll check out an NFL game if I have a specific one that I want to watch. But no, I'll stick to local TV, to Red Zone, and then maybe if a specific game if I want to watch one.
Yeah, I just don't understand why this is an issue. Now, it used to be back in the day before we had access to Sunday Ticket. None of you youngsters out there understand the pain and suffering that someone like me went through. So I when I lived in Denver, didn't even give it a second thought because all the Bronco games were on TV. It's great. Then we moved out to the Northwest. I'm like, why am I watching Seahawks games every freaking Sunday and I don't get to see the Broncos in every game? And I hated it. And so the only way you could access every single game if you didn't live in market back then is if you had one of those gigantic satellites that would sit in your backyard. And I don't know how much they cost, but it was more than what my dad was willing to pony up. Let's just put it that way. A gigantic satellite in your backyard. And so I had a couple of friends who had that type of satellite, and I would hand them VHS tapes. Here's a Memorex. Can you please, for the love of all that is right, record the Bronco game? But that didn't work out very often. And then around 94, 95, we got access to Sunday Ticket through DirecTV. Brilliant. Genius. Give me more of that. But with the transition over to YouTube, it's been great. But, man, I'm telling you, I had to sit and watch Seahawks games and wait for the 10-minute ticker because there's no internet. Just to see what the Broncos are doing. And then we transitioned into, you could call the local paper like the Oregonian or the Columbian, and they would update scores on a recorded message. How crazy is that? And now we have access to information in a moment's notice. And we can have access to whatever game we want. So I couldn't care less what the local coverage map is because I'm going to be accessing my Broncos regardless. So anyways, back to the Richard Marx story. I got stuck in YouTube mode last night, and I love listening to artists talk about songwriting, the creation of different songs, hits, or whatever the case may be. I love hearing the story behind the song. And so Richard Marx was talking about one of his songs. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Angel Leah, which turned out to be one of his hits. So he said he had the melody written, he had everything set up, but he was still looking for the hook. And he didn't have a title for the song. And he's on this long flight, and he's in his seat. He's, getting comfortable, and they take off, and they're midair, and finally the drink service is coming. The old carts coming down the aisleway. And the airline flight attendant or stewardess or whatever you call them. She comes down with the cart, and she's got her name badge on, and he looked up at the name, and it said Angelina. And he's like, that's a beautiful name. And she goes, well, thank you. My friends call me Angel Leah. And he said as soon as he heard that, he's like, Angel Leah. And then it just fit. And so from that moment on, he knew what the name of the song was going to be. It fit perfectly with the melody, and the rest is history. And that was just by a chance encounter with a flight attendant on a flight that he was on. And like, I just love those kind of stories. So there you go. That's what YouTube mode will do for you. I told you, I'm the master of meaningless things. Like, if you need to know something meaningless, I am your guy. Now, I've got this little soundboard in front of me, and I just played Robert. Tony loves Robert in Portland. This here was Rusty Harden.
A massage.
He was I just love sound bites. Some of these sound bites, I forget that I have them. Like Rusty Harden was I think the attorney for, who's that creeper quarterback? Deshaun Watson.
A massage.
I don't like the way Rusty Harden says massage.
A massage.
That's creepy to me. So I've got that. Van Earl Wright, who used to be on CNN Headline Sports, one of my idols.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Look, better go.
So I've got that. I've just got a bunch of random sound bites that I keep. I've got the Mike Parker always ready to go.
Oh, my goodness. This is a waste of humanity's time.
Yeah.
That ball's foul, Jim.
By 10 feet.
Yeah, I mean, that ball, what?
By 10.
Are they asking for, are Cincinnati asking for that to be looked at? Is that the deal?
So I've got all the Mike Parker greatest hits.
Never change, Mike.
Never change. Brian Wheeler.
Well, butter my bread and call it toast. Do it till you're satisfied.
So I've got that. I've got Travis impersonating Mitch. I've got the Karate Kid body bag.
Body bag.
I like that laugh. It's a great laugh. I got the baseball crack, the air horn. I just keep them handy in case you never know when you're going to need them. You never know. I've got a lot of wheels. And, of course, I got the Dame. Now, this here is pretty funny. I think Brian LaMartina, a guy I used to work with, put this together. This is Tiger Woods. You remember back in the day when we got busted because he was hooking up with all the chicks? This is Tiger Woods with the voicemail with Masters music.
You need to do me a huge favor. Can you please take your name off your phone? My wife went through my phone, maybe calling you. So if you can, please take your name off that.
Hello, friends.
And what do you call it? Just have it as a number on the voicemail. Just have it as your telephone number. Okay, you gotta do this for me. Huge, quickly. All right, bye.
So you got all that. Anyways, I just think it's funny. And I still got the Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play the Menomina Mahomes because he's not in the postseason. And he's now in rehab with the knee. That's very sad. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter, Antonio Harvey for joining the show. Coming up next, it will be the 68 Ventures Bowl with Delaware and Louisiana. And then tomorrow I'll be back with the Rip City Drive at 3 live from Moda Center. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys listening. This is the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.